Whether you're a seasoned marketer or just starting out, Madak Monday Insights is your go-to resource for staying ahead of the curve in the competitive world of marketing. Hey Adam, happy Madak Monday. How you doing today?
Jose, great to see you. Happy Matic Monday.
Great to see you too. So today we're going to be talking about the sport you love, rugby, the sport you play more than 20 years.
Yes, rugby has been a big part of my life, and it's been great to have it be part of Matic as well. So, looking forward to digging into this one.
Awesome. So what got you interested in rugby? Um, yeah, what got you interested in rugby?
What got me interested in rugby? So, I played college football at St. Ambrose University. After my first year there, a couple of Iowa guys took me back to their hometown to play rugby for the summer. And at that moment, when I played throughout the summer and I was able to run with the ball and tackle and play offense and play defense, that's really what the sport connected with me, and really like football as well, but was able to transition to the University of Iowa and play rugby. So that's really where it started.
Cool. Yeah. Well, rugby is not that popular in the U.S. as other countries, let's say Australia, New Zealand, Europe. How do you think it will get more popular in the U.S. before the World Cup in the 2031?
Well, rugby in the U.S. is a challenger sport. It has a lot of competition with the big sports, and but it's a second tier sport that's challenging with lacrosse and pickleball and some others. And what's really unique about the sport of rugby, in addition to being exciting, in addition to being a on field excitement sport, is that it is inclusive to everybody. So there's a lot of shapes and sizes and backgrounds of people that can play. And that's really where it's attracted a lot of different athletes. And it's got the most players on the field. It's got one of the biggest fields. So there's a handful of things that rugby has as an advantage to makes it unique, but part of being unique is that people don't quite understand, and like you mentioned, it's has a big global appeal, but has a niche feel here in the US. And so how I think it can help is just overall growth and awareness of the sport, which is where there's a lot of organizations that are working on this as we approach the 2031 Rugby World Cup that will be here in the U.S. So there is increasing the knowledge and the interest at a younger age, and then allowing those athletes to integrate that into their sporting life throughout their younger years, teen years, and then ultimately adult years.
How would you describe rugby for someone who hasn't played, who hasn't really seen it before?
Well, rugby can feel like it's very chaotic on the field, but it's a combination of soccer, football, basketball, all of those skills together in a very basic sport, in that you're trying to get the ball from one end of the field to the other. Very similar to football, very similar to soccer. So it's all a very basic concept, but it is a very much an evasion sport. While it feels like a collision sport, the people with the ball are trying to get away from the defenders, just like they are in the other sports. And so it's about having strategy and tactics and strength, that while following the rules, pushing the ball forward. And there's a lot of rules that go into that, and those that are in the community understand it, and those that were trying to get to understand it, it takes a little bit of education, awareness, and so forth to understand the rules and the strategy behind the game.
Okay, that's good to know. So let's combine a little bit with Madak with rugby. So as a marketer, trying to make rugby more popular in the U.S., what do you think are the most important things to do?
Well, the rugby in the U.S. and in North America has a lot of challenges where we're trying to get the participation to increase, so that creates awareness at an earlier age. And there's a lot of great groups out there like USA Youth in High School, Imagine Rugby, which is powered by the MLR, and some others that are really helping grow the game at the grassroots level. U.S. Rugby Foundation being another one, providing a lot of grants and funding. So those organizations are really focusing on increasing the base at the bottom of the playing population. So as they fall in love with the sport and as they grow older into elementary, junior, and high school, and into collegiate and adult, they are carrying that sport as a sport that they want to play. So the challenges that we have with all youth is those that want to play sport. They have the demands of other sports have just continuously grow and grow and grow, and so there's my perception is that people are playing less sport, but they're playing it longer year round. And so it's really about finding the type of youth slash athlete that wants to play this type of sport and then have them add that into their routine. And so I'm kind of getting away from your question a little bit, but the how do we market to them is really introduce it earlier, and then how do we market the sport to fans? That is a whole other kind of strategy, which is what USA Club Rugby is working on at the adult level, which is what the collegiate programs are working on. And of course, Major League Rugby is also working on that as they're driving the Major League competition here in the US.
And then with the Rugby World Cup coming to the US, what opportunities do you see for business to get involved?
Well, there's going to be a lot of commercial opportunity for businesses to get involved in USA Rugby and World Rugby, who owns the commercial rights to USA Rugby's content. And so there's a lot of opportunity there to because the Rugby World Cup is one of the most watched competitions globally. So there will be a lot of eyes on the Rugby World Cup for the men's in 31 and the women's in 33. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. And then, of course, working up to there, there's a lot of businesses that can really access a population of dedicated rugby athletes and fans that are committed to the sport and are committed to the lifestyle and growing it. And so there's a way to get act to introduce your brand through MLR sponsorship, through the rugby network, through club. There's a bunch of different ways that you can activate the brand while doing it on a more reduced cost in comparison to other sports. And then you have a good opportunity to really impact and get to hundreds of thousands of people, because everybody that's in North America that's connected to the sport is really focused on having it grow. And so everybody's working together on how we can increase exposure, increase participation, and then increase the commercial value of the sport as its entirety.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot MLR. Can you explain us that a bit? What is that? How many teams playing there?
Yeah, for sure. So there are 12 teams playing in Major League Rugby in the 2024 season. They're all over the country, and they're in 12 major markets. And the teams are competitive Major League Rugby teams, and they are It's a professional rugby with paid players and stadium rights and really awesome experience in stadium. And the games are broadcasted on Fox. They're also broadcasted on the Rugby Network. And the Rugby Network is the OTT platform that's home of Major League Rugby, and that allows you globally to watch all of the games. And the goal of the MLR is to not only increase exposure of the game and create entertainment value to the fans, but then also help increase the playing population at the base, which is why they have a nonprofit arm called Imagine Rugby, which distributes rugby balls and kits and works with Skyhawk Sports and other entities to really increase the playing value or the playing population at the base. Another one of their partners is USA Youth and High School. So Major League Rugby is really set up to help from top to bottom, and it's a really exciting sport, really exciting season that runs February to August, I believe. August will be the final, and so it's complementary to the rugby, or sorry, to the football season. So there's some good kind of camaraderie, or I guess balance there with the sport of football. And yeah, it's a great opportunity to get out and watch the sport and interact with the fans or interact with the players and really understand what it's like to play an 80-minute rugby game.
And for for the kids, how young they can start to play rugby?
The flag rugby starts at 5 years old. So I believe that the Imagine Rugby program that integrates with schools, they introduce the sport between 5 and 8 with flag. And then once you enter USA Youth and High Schools rugby territory, and I think they also start at 5. But that's, I don't know exactly when the tackle or the touch starts, but maybe somewhere on 8 or so is when you can introduce contact, and then that takes you all the way up through high school, which is becomes competitive on a regional and national level.
Yeah, and talking about that in high school, is the sport being implemented? You say is sport being implemented more in high schools now, or is starting to get more implemented? And there's any people doing that, like implementing rugby as, let's say, varsity sports in high schools and going up forward.
Yeah, so each region's a little bit different. So it's really driven by the state youth rugby organization, is where so USA Youth and High School Rugby sits above all of the state youth rugby organizations. There's 47 state youth rugby organizations, and then within their state, they're able to drive some of the decision making all the way down to the individual schools. So some have just club rugby that sits outside of the school. Some have introduced rugby as a varsity sport and integrated it, and I think that's really the goal, is to get the support of the schools, from high school all the way up to collegiate as well. And so there's a bunch of different variations. So as the sport gains popularity, the sport will then create more support from the schools, and then that's when the commercial angle will start to come in. And so, yeah, it's happening. It's just happening slowly and in different pockets and different regions.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit to the World Cups in US. I think I'm not a person who usually watch rugby. I kind of understand a bit of it, but I think that's a great opportunity for rugby to start growing up more and more each year before 2031. But before that happens, what groups should work together to make sure lots of people know about it in the US?
Well, there's a lot of groups that are already working together. And if you work your way from the top down, World Rugby is the global governing body of the sport, and they're the ones that own the rights to the Rugby World Cup. So they are working with Major League Rugby and USA Rugby at the top level to then ensure that this country is ready to host a two events back to back, which are very important to many groups throughout the world. And then when you start to work your way down from those groups, is when you start to introduce the adult USA Club Rugby, the colleges conferences. There's different groups in the college level, and then USA Youth and High School at the youth level. So there's a bunch of different groups that are working together to ensure that this is a successful venture for everybody. And Madak is right in the middle of there, working with a handful of those as clients, working to help ensure that we're delivering a professional driven information or route, which is where we excel. And we look forward to working with more groups as as the project, the overall project becomes more important and gets more time and more focus, is where we become available to help groups at all levels, including businesses that are looking to enter the sport and understand what is the best way to get involved and what groups to work with and so forth.
Yeah, that's good to know. So this, let's say, as I said, I'm not that familiar with rugby. Don't you think it would be great to have like a way? Let's say, for example, I notice Peacock, for example, shows some rugby games and the World Cups and all that. But when you go to NFL or you go to soccer or and any other sports, there's also programs that goes with it that's playing a lot about the game, like what teams could do better and how they can play better defense. And I don't see that a lot of rugby in rugby. If there's anything that you can like lead people to go watch and understand more the sport, what would it be, or what channels should people go to?
Well, one of the major channels in the US is going to be the Rugby Network, which is the OTT platform that shows Major League Rugby, but also shows a lot of collegiate rugby, high school rugby, and so forth. There are some also some shows, and there's a weekly show on there called the Rugby Rundown that gives a little bit more insight to what's happening around the country and around the globe for the content. I think that's going to be one of the best places for you to consume content, understand what's going on, understand the culture, and really start to figure out where you can access more. Peacock, of course, has some great rugby with some of the bigger competitions, and there's some others out there that have other competitions. But if you're looking to learn more about how to understand the sport more and get more involved, depending on your age, I would, if you're between 5 and 18, that's going to be at the USA Youth and High School level. And then, of course, USA Rugby, which is the national governing body of rugby in the United States, is going to be the best place to go, which will point you to everywhere you need to go.
Thank you for that. And what would you say to people who want to play rugby or are excited about 2031 Rugby World Cup? Like just some insight from the sport that people, yeah.
I think the biggest thing that the sport has given me is it's given me really great experience with teamwork and hard work on the field, but then also off the field with great camaraderie and lifelong friends and the ability and the network to really connect with really great people that are in the sport And so for me, it's changed my life in that way, and is integrated into what we do here at Madak. But it's also impacted the way I approach projects and the way I tackle things. Is all comes from my ballpark 20 years of playing the sport, and I've really enjoyed it. And I say to those out there that are thinking about it to give it a try. And you're going to gain a lot of skills that are going to help you with other sports, and a lot of skills that are going to help you in life.
Yeah, and some people will say, uh, for example, yeah, I'm 32 years old, like I'm not young anymore, I can start playing. Is there any Sunday leagues, usually around the country, that you know about that people can go and start playing for fun and then maybe a little bit more competitive, just like people do with soccer and different sports?
Well, there's a huge opportunity for those that are coming out of college or coming out of high school that played sport their whole life and that are still looking to play. There's a huge opportunity for those in the adult category that are looking to still play competitive rugby, well into your 30s. So there's plenty of people that are doing that. And then if you get into like the Sunday leagues that you're talking about, which are a little bit more lighthearted, etc. There's touch rugby, there's old boys rugby, so there's lots of opportunities to get into the sport at many levels. The best thing to do is just to find the closest rugby club to you, show up, you'll have an instant 50 friends, and you will be integrated and welcome with open arms no matter what sport or what level of the sport you enter.
Yeah, that's great to know. How Madak connects with rugby?
Well, when Maddox started 7 years ago, and our network was involved in rugby, there's a big void with the sport when it comes to administrative support, commercial opportunity, documenting a lot of the work that's been done through schedules and scores and everything. And so, as Maddox has anchored one of our main services around a website, we've been able to help leagues, teams, businesses really get involved with their website and their digital presence in the US. And that's where we've become, we believe, a strong part of what's going to happen over the next 7, 8 years in the US by helping rugby organizations build digital foundations that are going to help them grow within their vertical that they need in order to accomplish their goals. And that's really what Matic is set up to do, is to build those digital foundations to help the business, the league, the team grow in their prospective area, and really complement all of the hard work that's done on the field.
And so let's say rugby grows a lot before the two World Cups and 2031, 2033. After that, how do we keep rugby popular in the US?
Well, my belief is this run up, this next 7, 8 years is going to be the run up to the start. I believe that the 31-33 is really going to be, my hope is a tipping point for the sport that's going to expose the sport. It's going to expose all of the opportunities that's around it and pull people in. And so I think that's going to be when we're going to start. And then throughout the 30s and throughout the 40s, is where the growth opportunities are for the sport. And so this next 7, 8 years is really just a lead up and prep to get us organized and get our foundations organized so that we can be prepped for the next 1 to 2 decades of growth. So that to me is where we are and where we sit today, and excited to be a part of that, the early years, if you will, of the sport, and looking forward to impacting throughout the 20s and into the 30s.
Yeah, and well, also I see it as a from the business standpoint, let's say not that small business, a medium business want to be a sponsor or something, and they can go to NFL because it's way too expensive or it's bigger in the US and all that. Uh, just a piece of information, in Japan, the revenue was like crazy in the World Cup, and it was a like I think it's called second tier country in rugby or a B tier, and the revenue was big, like it was like 5 billions or something like that, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for people that have business to go in and start investing more in rugby and sponsor, and it's a great opportunity for business. I don't know how you see that.
Yeah, I think I like what you said there. Maybe that middle market of people that are looking to get their name out, get involved in sport without the price tag of some of the bigger 5+ leagues. We all know the big ones here in the U.S. And then you've got the ones that follow after that. And there's a big drop off between the big five and the rest. And so I think there's an opportunity there for U.S. based companies, but then there's also an opportunity for overseas companies to get involved in the U.S. that way. And maybe they're looking to enter the market, or they're already here and they're looking to grow into a database or grow into this market. So there's some plenty of opportunity, and we as Madak are positioned to help those companies and not only activate within the current rugby landscape, but then also get them set up with digital foundations that allow them to capitalize on an investment that would yield results, taking campaigns with calls to action and so forth. So really looking forward to the next decade, helping not only the sport grow itself, the leagues around it, and the businesses directly involved today, but then also those uh, outside commercial ventures that are looking to get involved, and we can definitely help them.
Yeah, and they have people remember that rugby is a big sports outside US, and they're probably there's an opportunity to you guys to for rugby to show that. The same with that happens with soccer when the World Cups comes in. There's gonna be a lot of people from outside and a lot of opportunity for businesses to get people to know you in that sense. And
Right.
also I think it's a really great way to see how things are done in the World Cup in a bigger scale for rugby to try to catch some of that attention. I don't know. I think about that.
Yeah, so the 2026 Soccer World Cup that's coming here is definitely going to help re-educate the U.S. about other sports. I know soccer is a big sport with MLS, and but there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. And I recently joined the Seattle Sports Commission. With my goal there is to help secure Seattle as a host city for the Rugby World Cup in 31 and 33. So looking forward to getting involved at that level as well. And so there's just a lot of great opportunity, a lot of great momentum that we have over the last couple of years. And I know everybody's excited to dig in and make this a success. And Madak is looking forward to working with entities out there that are also looking forward to making a success as well.
Yep. Well, awesome. This been a great chat with you today, Adam, about rugby, and hope we talk more about it in the future to come.
Thanks, Jose. Appreciate you bringing this to the Madak Monday Insights this week, and yeah, looking forward to more opportunities in the future. Thanks, Jose.